Great to have Tally founder CEO here. Could you start by telling us like what Tally is all about?
Sure. So at Tally, our real mission is making on-chain governance work. Well, that's originally where we started. We realized that there's a lot to that, and that when we talk about DAOs and making governance work, actually we're talking about communities, giving folks insight into the other members of the communities, making tools so that they can create decisions, execute them, look into the history of how other people participate. So it's really gone from this idea of like, okay, DAOs are really of the moment. How do we make this work, to building the tools to really scale these organizations?
Yeah, I always say there's no governance without active participation, right? And
Absolutely.
you guys are really building the best tool to do that. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background and why you're so interested in this platform to begin with.
You know, I kind of see a lot of the things that we build as DAOs anyway. There are a lot of inefficiencies in our sort of like life systems that people don't realize. And when you start a company, you start to run into them and you sort of see them more clearly. One that I talk a lot about recently is how DAOs enable sort of like permissionless like participation in things. There's that, you know, sort of famous like quote of talent is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not. I actually believe that decentralized autonomous organizations help evenly distribute opportunity, right? And there's a great example. If I create a company here in the United States, I actually have to ask permission from the United States government to work with the most talented people in this space, right? And this is something that we take to be normal, but you know, Google and Facebook and Apple, right? They can have access to the best talent globally because they have the resources. But think of all the inefficiency that exists in the system where a business can be created here in Denver, you know, maybe it's around some sort of like knowledge work. They actually don't have the legal right to have access to the best talent to participate. And that actually, for me, seems to be just an insane point of friction that actually makes us poor as a result, right? Like, not just that there's people in other parts of the world or other communities that don't have access to like participation, but actually we can't perform as well because of it. So that's a little bit personal, but
that's a great one. I think it's crazy that you actually live in New York and really have the vision that see there's so much opportunity that it's not about New York or Silicon Valley or even crypto. That it should be everyone be able to participate.
Yes. Right. If your money can travel anywhere,
which should be.
Which it should be, certainly your ideas should be able to travel.
I love that. And I think that's where we are too. How many want to really think about launching 100 DAOs, right? Really want to bring 10,000 more builders into these DAOs, thinking about it, right? What do you see, what will be the challenges that we will face that like tooling like yours that we have to really keep thinking about solving the scalability of these human coordinations?
So scaling communities requires a lot of tooling, right? And it requires, as funny as enough, it sort of requires a kind of mental frame of reference for understanding how things work. When the UX between different systems is incompatible, when the sort of like functioning of systems is incompatible, this is a really high barrier to entry for people who participate, because you don't want to have to participate in a DAO and also be an expert at smart contracts and be an expert at like Ethereum or Harmony or EBM. You don't have to be an expert on all the underlying technology to get something done, right? So tools like Tally are very important to allow people to come in and intuitively understand who else exists in their community, what are they doing in their community, how are they participating in their community. We allow for really granular understanding of like, okay, when votes come up, who votes before the outcome has been decided, right? Because we live in a world where, you know, airdrops are a thing, like people get benefits that may exist in the future. So people sort of like airdrop mine every opportunity. So who votes on proposals? Who creates proposals, right? And those give you a lot of tools for understanding better what the community actually looks like and what the participation actually looks like.
Yeah, I love that strong perspective of governance participation. So in 1 year, what do you wish DAO become, right? Not just what Tally can build, but the whole industry that finally have achieved, right? Whether like DeFi get legitimate, NFT become mainstream, what do you see DAO in a year?
Yeah. So what I would hope in a year is that we see 10x more DAOs, right? Like this is a real open playing field for experimentation. You see what's happening with NFTs. I think is very linked to DAOs. Like that is like mechanisms to bring people together in the beginning. I would like to see an enormous number of people get together and be building more things, experimenting with more things. But in particular, I would like to see DAOs become accessible to non-technical people, right? Like you should be able to build a DAO around non-technical outcomes, non-technical challenges, right? Like it shouldn't just be like, oh, this is for my yield farm and we want to like figure stuff like that.
That's exactly the point, the impact on people, not just a few traders making all the yields. I love that. So the last one is how can Harmony be helpful?
So Harmony, I think, is a platform that is more accessible for many users and participants, right? Like one of the things in Ethereum is that it is maybe too expensive to use. It may not be as fast as everything needs to be, but that also scales a lot to the concerns that people are dealing with, right?
Sure.
We need to have other places that people can interact and build on that address different needs, right?
For sure.
And I think that, teams like Harmony are building tools that allow us to experiment more with different kinds of networks and reach different kind of audiences. So I think it's very important.
Very well put. Thank you again for today having conversation with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
very
again.
much.